So my name is Tiamiso Makwela, and I'm the coordinator of the TTP program. Please let me know if my slides are changing on your side. Yes, they're changing. Thank you so much. Yes. So today we'll be speaking about the teacher training program, but mostly the teacher training program in line with the transparency standards for astronomy teacher training programs. And I'll get into what those things are and why they're relevant to us, especially this year. A little bit about us. So we are the Office of Astronomy for Education, the sister office to the OAD, which is the Office of Astronomy for Development, and the Office of Astronomy for Outreach, the OAO, and the Office of for Young Astronomers, as well as the Office for the Protection of Dark Skies. So the OAE is hosted at Haus der Astronomie, which is in Heidelberg in Germany at the Max Planck Institute of Astronomy. And this is the team at the OAE for people who are not familiar with the OAE or for people who are joining in collaboration with others. So for teachers who are joining and astronomers who are joining, this is who the OAE is. Our director and deputy director are there, Marcus Posel and Caroline Lufke. And we also have Neil, who's joining us here today on this call as one of the coordinators, Neil Deacon and Eduardo Penchado. And then we have Simon Cross, who's working on secondary schools. And there's me and Samantha Brown, who are both astronomy education researchers for the team. And then we have some associates, which are people who have worked with us and currently working with us from elsewhere in the world, Sahid Salimpur, Sophie Bartlett, and Asmita, as well as Gwen Sanderson, who is our organizational assistant. She is the glue that holds us together. So if you are here, you've either gotten an email from Gwen or have interacted with Gwen, and she is the most important person, I can tell you that, within the OAE team. So the OAE has 7 centers and nodes. The centers and nodes that we have 3 nodes, which are in Nepal, Korea, South Korea, and in Paris at France. And then we have 4 centers, the one in Italy, another one in Egypt, the other one in India, and another one in China. And we've recently just closed the call for additional centers and nodes. These are people who are working with us actively together within the missions and the goals of the OAE. They run independently, but they are also quite valuable in promoting astronomy education within certain specific regions. So I've been saying objectives and goals and missions and all of those things. At the OAE, we are working on key 5 objectives. And some of the objectives include the support and professionalization of astronomy education. And this is done through the IU workshops, teacher trainings, community standards, and some of the OAE reviews, which are things that are either already ongoing or coming. And we also are trying to work on making sure that astronomy education practitioners and educators find excellent resources that they can use within their teacher trainings. So we do have and are working on the multilingual glossary, and there's also the Astro EDU platform, and we also have big ideas in astronomy. We are also working on the support of the inclusion of astronomy within curricula. And we already do this by doing a lot of astronomy education research on students' interests, on the role of astronomy for STEM teaching, on many other aspects that inform what we need to do or where we can support a lot of astronomy inclusion within curriculum. And we are also working very hard on creating and maintaining and growing our network of associates. And we do this through our National Astronomy Education Coordinators, our OAE centers and nodes that I've already alluded to. And we also very much like to keep our stakeholders informed. So stakeholders being everyone who is part of this mission, our IAU steering committee or the IAU astronomers, as well as the people that are working within the education portfolio around the world. And so we do this with our IU mailing list. We have the announcement. We also have a good social media presence. We do presentations at different conferences as well. And we're also going to try and work on something called an OAE newsletter. So that's mostly about it, about the OAE. And I think the key objective of why we are here is the first point in terms of supporting the professionalization of astronomy education. And that is quite important, and we're doing it through the teacher trainings. So if you could quickly again scan that QR code of Mentimeter and let us know why you're here today. Why do you want to run a teacher training program? So I'll give you about 2 minutes to think about that, and just if you could please put your responses as well on the Mentimeter code.
So the Mentimeter is sending me to the previous question, the QR code.
Does it
It's
not go
not
to the second one?
now it's saying that wait for the presenter to change slides.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, let me see quickly. Maybe if you can just type it in the chat for now, because I can't get into my Mentimeter as yet. Can you please just type your responses on the chat in terms of why do you want to run a TTP? So we'll just read some responses from the chat. I'm sorry about that. And thanks for letting me know. Yeah, we are getting some responses both on Mentimeter actually now that I check and on the chat. So thank you for people who have been able to do the two. So we are getting really a wide range of responses. And I think one of the things that seems to stem out, especially from the responses, the fact that, that there are, there aren't any active astronomy teachers within your country. There is interest. Teachers want to know more astronomy and want to use it. You want to have more interactive methodologies for astronomy and STEM education. And all of these are really great reasons of why do you want to host a teacher training. So just as a background of the astronomy teacher training standards, and I'll get back into your responses later on when we speak more relevant to the TTP. The the astronomy education teacher training standards were developed as a way to try and professionalize astronomy education, which is one of our first objectives. And this was done through running a survey. So there was a pilot study that was run by the OAE at the conception of the OAE, where they were trying to find out what is actually the landscape of teaching. Who is teaching what way? What is available? What are some of the overarching themes within astronomy worldwide, astronomy education worldwide? And we're also looking at what are some of the concerns and challenges that people actually have when they try to teach astronomy, or when they try to do things in astronomy, especially with teacher trainings. So in particular to teacher trainings, we found these are just some of the results that I'm showing you here, where we found that, the people who host a lot of teacher training happen to be a lot of professional astronomers, followed by some certified teachers and some amateur astronomers. This is quite important to know who is actually trying to run these workshops and what are they trying to do. And we also looked at who were they running the workshops for. So if you look on this first graph here, we see that this is the professional astronomers and mostly teachers who try to run astronomy teacher trainings. And mostly they have the teacher training workshop for secondary school students, which makes sense if you look in terms of where is astronomy in the curriculum in most countries. We find it in high school, and in some cases at primary school teachers. And then we have other, which you can actually read about within that TTP report. And we also looked at some of the other aspects which we thought were of interest. And one of those was the resources that they use. Are there any IEU resources that are being used? Are there any resources that we know of that they use? And we could see that from this, in many cases, people use non-IAU resources, not that they do not exist. Other resources outside of the IAU, other resources do exist and people use them, but we see that the Astro EDU platform is also one of the platforms that happen to be very active within the astronomy education space, as well as the NASA program, which I also find to be one of the most dominating astronomy education programs that we've seen, that our previous TTP have also used, as well as Universe in the Box, as well as the Play Blue Dot, which has not been used that much, but probably will come up soon. But these are some of the resources that have been used and that we know of and are available to people. But within that whole thing, we know who is running the teacher trainings, we know who they want to host it for, and also the types of resources that they're hosting for. But there are many other things that came up and that showed up that we actually try to address, or rather summarized into the 5 key things. And those 5 key things being the content, the methods, the issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion, the issues of certification and evaluating these workshops, as well as the type of educational impact it has. But all of these things are gathered by the fact that our most important focus is on transparency. And I'll get into why we're saying transparency is the most important thing. So if we look in terms of the content, and this is in line with what we have in the TTP application form. So all of these things, the 5 aspects are also reflected within the TTP application form. For those who've not seen it, I'll also go through it a bit later. So if we look in terms of content, we are looking at the 3 key things: the learning outcomes. Your learning outcomes being, what should our teachers know at the end of this workshop? What is the concept that we are trying to teach? And is this concept also part of the curriculum? If it is, why are we trying to make sure that we teach this? Is it not taught well? Or are there other aspects that lead to a lot of misconception and alternate conceptions that we don't know of? The second thing is on content accuracy and dependability. Who is teaching these workshops? and what is their background. This is quite important to us because we also don't want to reinforce misconceptions when we are running teacher training programs. And also the resources. What are the resources that are used to aid the delivery of the content? And how are these resources accessible, which also later speaks to the content of EDI. So if you can see, I just posted some of the links there to the common resources that have also been listed within the standards, but that we also have on our website at OAE. And then we also want to focus on the methods of teaching. So the teaching methods and pedagogy, thinking about how do you teach? So if you are a teacher here, you're a practitioner here, thinking about how you teach, but also the way that you teach. Is it how you were taught previously, or are you teaching this in a way that it is informative for the teachers as well? And what kind of the strategies do you use when you're teaching? Is it a lot more of hands-on strategies, such as in this case where we had a TTP in Ghana, where you want people to, where you're using a lot more of tactile approaches, where you are touching things and doing things actively? So sort of like active learning strategies, or is it a lecture and then mixed with some practicals? We want to know those things. And we also want to know, how do teachers then transfer this knowledge into the classroom? And what are the teaching tools and strategies will they really gain from coming to this teacher training? So are they going there just to learn and then they go away and they've learned for themselves? Or are there things and tools and strategies that they will take away with them into their own different contexts and it applies well? And then we also want to highlight the issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion. So when we are talking about equity and diversity, we're thinking about representation and some biases. Are people from different places, different backgrounds, maybe different language backgrounds as well? Are they included within this? Or what are my own personal biases about the kind of participants that I have in my teacher training? How do I include underrepresented groups? Are people not able to attend the teacher training because maybe it is too far away, maybe it involves night viewing, and maybe, you need to think of ways of how can I then make sure that people who are very far and cannot be able to attend this are also included in some way within this teacher training. And this also speaks to accessibility and inclusiveness. How accessible is it? Obviously, I've spoken about the distance, but if you're saying, no, I will run this workshop online, how accessible is an online workshop for the participants that you're doing the workshop for? Are these people in the rural areas? Do they actually have electricity to even join online? Never mind the internet, but first the basics. Do they even have electricity for this? And also, who is it open to? Who do you actually want to come? Which is why when we ask in the TTP, we ask not only for the country where you're hosting it, but we also ask you to tell us about the region where this TTP is being hosted so that we can know more about who is this teacher training for and who do you see it benefiting. And then we also have an aspect of language. So in what language is the workshop going to be delivered in, and what is that the language of instruction in the country? For example, I know we ask at the OAE, we ask all of the applications to be submitted in English, but we know that there are many other workshops that are taking place in different languages. But we also want to know this because it's also part of us being inclusive as well, understanding that, we are all from different parts of the world, we speak different languages, but language is not necessarily a barrier to learning astronomy and to accessing the knowledge of astronomy. And then the other thing that we want to allude to is the certification and the evaluation of the workshop. But first, I want to speak on the certification. In one aspect, certification can speak to, do we as the OAE give you a certificate of recognition saying, yes, you've been awarded the opportunity to host a teacher training in your country? Yes, we can do that. But also, do the teachers that you are training need the certificates? Do these certificates maybe give them some form of recognition within their schools after attending this? And would this certificate also adhere to the other general standards maybe of teacher trainings and workshops that teachers normally attend within your regions? For example, in the US, when teachers go to conferences or attend some small workshops, they get a certificate, and their certificates give them accreditation to say this person has attended this, and they'll be able to continue with whatever project that they've attended before. So is this something that you need? And also, can this certificate be recognized as well at a higher level other than the OAE, maybe a level of your own ministry, where now the ministry within your country also recognizes the teachers as well? And then in terms of the workshop evaluation, I think this is quite important because it helps us to know whether you did something well. It helps you kind of measure your own success of the workshop. So did the workshop do what it intended to do? And maybe if you're trying to get data for this, how are you going to use that data? Is it something that's going to be in a publication somewhere, or is it going to be just information that you use to show other people the proof of concept? Is this information that maybe you will use in trying to gain interest from your ministry, from your local authorities, from other schools, other teachers? How do you use the data that you have gathered when you have evaluated your workshop? And also, are you planning to do some follow-up? What plans do you have for the future? So if you already done one teacher training workshop now, what plans do you have for the future, for teacher trainings in the future, but also what plans do you have for the teachers who have actually attended that teacher training? So it gives you kind of aspect of thinking both about the now, but also the future, making sure that you try to make sure that your TTP is sustainable. And also educational impact and funding. So we know that, for example, I'll get into funding. Let me just speak about the impact first. You know that there are both long-term and short-term impact of the project. And we want to know, what are the impacts that you think you will gain at the end of this? And how will you assess this impact? But when we speak about impact, we must also not forget that there might be challenges that we can encounter when we are trying to run these workshops. So we want you to think about those as well when you're thinking about the type of educational impact that you want your teacher training to have within your region. And then funding. Okay, so in the case of the TTP at the moment, the funding mostly comes from the IAU OAE, but also people gain other funding. And this is what we want you to do, because TTP at the moment stands as a once-off fund. So we hope we give you funding for only 1 year. It's not renewable for 3 years, because at the moment we are unable to secure those funds. So we try to make sure that we support as many projects as we can, but other people are able to use the first funding that they had as a way to gain more funding from other people. So we want you to tell us how did you build that relationship where you are able to get funding outside of the OAE? We want to know about all of these things. And I say we want to know about all these things because we are going to be documenting all the applications that we get and make sure that they're accessible to others as well. So at the moment, these stand as the standards that we have for the teacher training. And we know that, the standards cannot be a one size fits all. They may not necessarily apply the same way in all contexts. But these are some things that we are asking you as people who are trying to apply to host teacher trainings to think about. We want you to consider these things, to make them things that are quite critical and important when you are thinking about hosting a teacher training. And we also ask you to answer these key questions. I put that there because we are asking you to answer these questions when you're already applying for a TTP at the moment. And this means that you need to be more willing to share what you plan to do. And we hope that all of the plans and your answers can be documented as some of the best practices that people can consider, people can come to when they're thinking about hosting teacher trainings. And as I said, the key focus here is on transparency. So everything that you share with us is not only for us at the OAE, but we are going to share it with the wider community of people who are trying to host teacher training programs so that these work as the basis of the best practices on what do we want to do, or when they're trying to think about teacher training programs within their own regions. So I've been speaking for a while, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a bit. Um, and I am going to take questions. But before I take questions, I want to put people into breakout rooms. I'm going to try and put people into breakout rooms. How many people do we have? We have maybe there'll be like 4 people in each breakout rooms, and I want you to think about how to discuss rather within your breakout rooms, at least for the next 5 to 10 minutes. How do these things apply to you? Do they apply? Do they not apply? And then we can get back together with the questions. Is that okay? Welcome back, everyone. Sorry for kicking you out for people who are still having discussion. I'm seeing a lot of smiles on people's faces, so I guess yes, this is good news. This must be good news. This must mean that we are trying something innovative and new, but useful for us. So, yeah, any comments? Initial comments and feelings? Yes.
I was discussing with Mark and Jean-Pierre, we are on the same feeling, but we are on the same feeling since we met on the regional meeting. So,
Mm.
I see a lot of people here that I already know how we work together, and we share the same vision for how to improve educational astronomy. So I'm happy to not to be alone in this.
Mm. Thanks, Jenna.
Uh, yeah, if you allow me, it was we were talking about the TTP because we just finished the TTP last month, so it's less than 2 weeks maybe that we have finished the TTP, and we were talking about even though astronomy is not in the curriculum in Lebanon and maybe in some other countries also, but the TTP allowed us also to create this link between astronomy and other topics in the curriculum. And we showed this for the teachers, and they were really happy to see this. And the second day after the TCP, one of the teachers, this Mark was telling Jean Andrea now, the next day, one of the teachers applied this activity of the solar to measure the solar diameter with his students, and it was in the mathematic fields and not even the physics. So he applied it Thales theorem with his teacher, with his students. So it was nice. It was nice to see this interaction with the teacher. And it's not only, as always, also Mark said, it is not. It was not only a TTP. It was also a not teaching the teachers, but it's teaching maybe with the teachers more than a teaching for the teachers. So because they have already their experience, they are in the field of teaching, education, etc. We are just adding maybe some links and some new methodology to their knowledge. So that was really nice, and they were very interactive. And they are asking the new TTP one. Hopefully, we
Yeah.
will be able to make it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I mean, the comment that you're saying alludes to a slide that I'm gonna have soon, that it's more than just teaching the teachers, it's teaching with the teachers. And making them understand that you're not coming here as an empty head. You're not, it's not that you don't have anything to bring to the table, but the experience that you bring and the content that we bring together will help us build a more enriching experience for our own students. And I think that's very key. Yeah. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would like to add something. First, thank you for everything you said. It resonates with us. It resonates with everything we were working for. And I was telling them as well, I was discussing with John Andrea now, the pedagogy and the methods used, it's very important as well during the TTP like after each activity to go back and look at it in the perspective of a teacher as well as in the perspective of a student, of course. But why the teacher? But because we need to understand what are the like benefits and what are we trying to teach the students with the activity, not just the activity itself or the math and physics behind it, but the like what we need to make them understand more than just the subject itself. So in every activity, we had the chance to make a reflection and really state all the objectives in the like well, for a teacher and what a teacher wants to give their students. So this was very important as the methods and methodologies used.
Mm. No,
Yeah.
thank you so much for that contribution.
And
Just
if, sorry, no problem.
okay, sorry. So just like another question, with the transparency standards that we are trying to get out of things to consider for teacher training. One of the things that we want to do is, when people send in applications, so for example, you are now going to be sending applications for the TTP. We want to say whoever who is funded for that TTP in that year, your application becomes public for people to come and read your application to see what you did or what you're planning to do. And that's the part of transparency. Do you think this is something that you generally feel comfortable to do? What do you have any reservations with this? Do you see any usefulness in having your own, wonderful teacher training program out there in the world for people to use that as a basis of starting something?
Yeah, I mean, I actually saw previous application before starting to write in mine. And I mean that's the idea. So to a certain point, you define the standard. That's what we want as a community to be around. And it's not important if the application came from Italy or came from Nepal or came from South Africa. The willing to approach the willing approach to teacher is more or less the same throughout all the application that I saw. So I mean, of course, the methodology changed because you need to apply them for the location that you need to do. But I mean, the spirit is the same. So, and I think it's important to understand also what are the declination of the spirit from the other countries, so you can understand better how to you do yours in your country.
Thanks for that, Jen and Andrea. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, if I may also interfere, it has been more than 10 years that we are in the outreach and activities, and it's always open to public. It's always, it has been never something that we want to keep it to ourselves. So it is really nice to put all these experience all together and to have much more significant content for the TTPs. So of course, it is something that we'd like to do, and this is what we the Office of Italy for all the co-designs that we worked on. So, of course, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Isego.
I would like just to ask if you're going to share the proposals after they're approved. Are you also thinking about sharing the reports somehow if the owner is not going to publish somewhere or something, that if they approve also?
Yes, yes. So we are planning on both sharing the proposals and the reports. Actually, right now we are trying to put on together some of the reports of the previous TTP as well online, because we have the reports, but we are not sure how to share them well. And so now we've put them together in some way, and we will be sharing those as well. But we are planning on sharing both proposals and later on the reports. But we think the proposals are good because this is going to be open not only for people who are running the TTP with OAE funding, but for people who also want to run astronomy teacher trainings with their own funding in their own local context. They would have to apply the same way as well. So it is not just, oh, we are closing it to the funding and it's just a model that exists for our funding. No, we are trying to make sure that this is a model that is accessible to everyone, even those with own funding, but they would like that recognition of the OAE to be part of it. So we are really making sure that it's open, yes, and transparent. Yes.
Yeah, I agree on that. For the other kind of fundings, even applying for those, these are very useful. But also, even if you're applying for some other, not some national, but some other international fundings projects, some needs analysis are necessary. So the reports can be important for other kind of applications for the NICs as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you for that comment. So now I'm going to go back into my presentation, and I promise I won't be speaking for too long. I just want to get into some few nitty-gritty details regarding the current TTP call. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, visible.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just going to have some water. Yes, so I'm just going to speak on the call for the TTP and what we call eligibility for us, which is quite important because of the restrictions we have on our funding. I think everyone knows who's here. So far, we have received some applications from non-NIACs, and their teams also don't have NIACs, which is a problem for us, well, mostly for me at the moment, but I'm working on fixing those. But each and every application has to be submitted by a NIAC, who is also the principal organizer. And I understand sometimes our NIACs already have, they are part of networks that they're working with, and they tend to write the application within that network as well. Maybe with a teacher they have within that network and another astronomer as well. And we want this team of the three organizers to all be on site, except on cases where it doesn't allow. For example, where we have one NIAC in a place, in a country, there's one NIAC who will have to join online because they can't really travel to their country for the TTP. We do make space for such things. And an astronomer can also be an amateur astronomer in your region, as seen in some of those results, that amateur astronomers are part of the people who actually mostly run teacher training programs. So we cannot just push them aside and say, no, you're not a real astronomer, because these are people who actually get to speak to people on the ground and know what their needs are. At the moment, only one NIAC can submit one proposal, and countries with more than one NIAC can submit multiple applications. So at the moment, each country has roughly about 3 to 5 NIACs. So if a country has 5 NIACs, we will accept 5 applications from them. And then obviously through a review process, we'll see how many of those can be supported. And we do require that all applications should be submitted in English. I understand this is a barrier for some, but we are open to helping people with translations. We are open to giving people some English language and support. So if you do have any other problems regarding that, please do send us an email and we'll be on it. But you need to send the email before the closing, before the deadline of the TTP. So at least 2 weeks before the deadline. So in the next following 2 weeks, I guess. And this is what we aim for our not only our trainers, but also our teachers. And I think here I said for our trainers, mostly because we don't want a teacher training where, you know, a famous astronomer comes and gives lectures to teachers and then goes away. But we want the teacher trainings to be a moment where experiences and expertise can be shared between astronomers and practitioners and teachers and our national astronomy education coordinators. And we know that mostly, you know, our astronomers have the content knowledge. They know what they're talking about. They know their science. But we also understand, as you said, that our teachers have the pedagogical knowledge. They know how to teach. They know their students. And that is valuable. That is really, really rich and valuable knowledge that we need within a team of a TTP, which is why it's very important that we have the trainers as a NIAC, as an active teacher, as well as an astronomer together, because we believe in that shared expertise, which is much more useful for our teacher trainings. And we also know that like each project has stages, right? So I think this is some of the other things that we would like people to consider rather when they're thinking about their training. So in your program design, we want you to think about identifying gaps and doing some form of a needs analysis. Is there really a need for me to do this teacher training? Or there are so many other teacher training that happens within my country, but none of them are actually focusing on astronomy. And there's a need for astronomy knowledge to be known by students because already there is so much, there's so much excitement of astronomy. Children and teachers and people in general are always so excited about astronomy. And so we need to find out, you need some, before as you are planning your program design, maybe think about those things. What will this project do? What gap is this project aiming to fill? And so these are just some of the things that we would like you to think about. Obviously, think about the goals that you're trying to achieve. And then the next step will be the development of content. What content are you trying to teach? Remember that the OAE does not prescribe to you what you should teach, right? You need to tell the OAE, this is the content and the topic that we are focusing on and why we're focusing on that particular topic. At the start of the TTP program, we had so many primary school projects because all of them were saying that we have no astronomy and we want to start astronomy at the basic level. We want to try to make sure that the basics of astronomy are learned. So we cannot prescribe to you. We are not at the age of how the James Webb Telescope and its images are really a hot topic in astronomy right now. But we cannot say this is what you need to do because your current situations and local situations may not necessarily need that. So we are very cognizant of that. And then you also have to think about your project implementation. How long do I want to run this project? How much time do I need in between getting the, getting the proposal, my proposal getting approved? How will I get my participants? Which region, which location will be mostly useful for accessible for the teachers that I have? Am I going to have nighttime observations? When are they going to come? Is it going to be safe? Things like that. Just thinking about the practicalities and the logistics of every day, and obviously the outcomes which go with, your goals and your which go with your goals, and also evaluation. So these are just like some of the steps that you need to consider as you are thinking about your project. And all of these things we are also documenting within the application form. So these are just not things that are just in your head, but we also want you to express them in your application. I just want to say that, when reviewers read your application, they should get a sense of an idea of, oh, I see what they're trying to do. If they cannot necessarily get to that gist, then it becomes a bit difficult for them to measure if this is going to work or not. So you need to be able to give the necessary details that give the reviewers a much clearer picture of what is it that you're trying to do. That if reviewers give you more comments, then we can say, okay, the reviewers are saying this is a good project, but you need to think about this and that and that. So this is just something to consider for yourself. And generally, these are just some of the things that I think are quite important in terms of what makes a TTP. We want to know that if there are other teacher training programs that happen, what makes this one more unique? Why is this one more important? Why is this worth the funding this time? And so we are looking really at new ideas, how you're building your network, how you're building your resources, whether you are translating materials that already exist into new languages or you're developing new materials. We want to know if you have any sustainability goals beyond the grant that we give you, because like I said, our grant at the moment is once off. We want to know if you have any other plans beyond this grant. How do you aim to make it more sustainable? We also know how do you then, from network building, how do you then also do some community development with this? So how do teachers themselves now also learn to take initiative going forward with the TTP? So these are just some of the ideas that we are working on. And we also have an evaluation framework toolkit, which you can use for evaluation and survey tools. I'm not going to go into details about this because we do have this toolkit available on our website. But this evaluation toolkit helps you think about your outputs, your outcomes, as well as the impact of your of your TTP. And it also helps you thinking about the methods of evaluation. How am I going to actually evaluate this? Am I going to do a survey? Am I going to give a questionnaire? Am I going to have interviews? Am I going to have, graffiti walls? It really helps you. This toolkit really helps you to think about all of those best practices and strategies that you may use to evaluate your teacher training. And if you do need more information on this, please let me know now. I'll show you where you can find the details of that. So this year, our application is online for the TTP. If you didn't know, I'm letting you know now that our application is all fully online this year. We will not be taking applications on email unless really there's some situation or you really cannot fill in the application. The application is pretty long. It does have long questions and short questions. And we do ask you to include a draft budget. This may not be in table form in this entry form, but later on, if we do fund your application, we'll ask for a detailed budget. And then we also ask that the recipient is an organization over a personal account. We are having some challenges with sending money, especially with the politics of the world, if I can say it nicely. So these are just some of the things to consider. I will go through the application in a bit if people need, but that is the application form that we have. And then now it is time for any questions thus far?
Sorry, this is for me. It's the first meeting, or actually for the TTP.
Yes.
After the application, when we can take the result, how long the process?
Okay. Yeah. So normally, let me just mute this person. So normally the application is, okay, so we have I'm going to work with the timelines that I know at the moment. So the deadline is on the 30th of April, for example.
Yes, yes,
And then we are going to have a review process taking place throughout May. So our reviewers will all be busy throughout May looking at these applications. And it will probably go on until the end of May. So in mid-June, this is when we let people know if they will get the grant or not. In some cases, we ask for more information. Reviewers will say, this is a good proposal, but we have these recommendations, and then we ask you to please do those recommendations. And then after that, probably sometime in July, we have a meeting. So maybe on the 1st of July, I'm just making an example. On the 1st of July, we have a meeting with all the recipients. And then we go through the next round of the details, such as the banking details, the MOUs, just a few details. I think that's what we need. We go through the MOU. There's an MOU that we have, and then we go through some details of the banking details that have to be signed.
Okay.
And then we collect all that information, at least by the end of July, when all things are done by the end of July. So in most cases, we are open to flexibility at that point. Probably half of the people would have sent the stuff by the 31st of July, and those people will then send their details through to the IAU to start making the payments. So the IAU typically takes time. So we say be open between 4 and 6 weeks. Some others take it longer. So for other people, it has taken longer. So we do ask you to have some preliminary dates, but we know that those dates can change. We are open to those dates changing because of sometimes the process takes a little bit longer than it should, but because of really, as I've mentioned, world politics and global politics sometimes make us, make us delay money. And then from then on, once you have the money, you can run the TTP. So that's kind of how it runs.
Okay, thank you. And how many call are you opening during the year? 2 or just one?
We
call?
open 1 call per year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an annual call. We only open 1 call a year. And because it's a once-off funding, because we have limited funding at the moment, our funding does not, so if we give you funding this year, it is just for that period. If you want to run another TTP in another round, you have to apply again because we do not have that funding. But hopefully in the future, when we have more funding, we can be open to having multi-year projects where we can fund a TTP program for 2 or 3 years. But at the moment, we are funding once a year.
I think because if I want to next February, so it's not make sense right now. I understand. Or I can.
So if you're trying to do a teacher training for next year, February, you must apply now.
Okay, I get it now. All right. All right.
Apply now.
This is important. All
I
right.
think Jen Pierre just said that they just finished their teacher training 2 weeks ago, and that was from last year's call. That is the teacher
Okay. All right. I
call.
see.
They were funded
Okay.
within that round. So if you want to do that, then you apply now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, but you need to state clearly in your application that that is the plan.
Yes, of course. All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Yes. Jen.
Sorry, Makwila, just to make sure, because I have to leave, just to make sure that you received the mail, the report of the TTP, because we sent the mail by email because the link for the Dropbox was not working anymore because we are late in the TTP program. So I sent a mail, a report, a full report about the TTP, just to make sure if you received it or not before I leave.
Because I was really occupied with, I think the email was bounced back. So I'll send you a new link for the Dropbox to upload. The email bounced. We saw the email, but we didn't get any content. It was planned on our side. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao. Yes. Jan Andrea?
Yeah. I have two questions. One is on the participation of other NIC in the same call. So if I have a NIC that is willing to propose a different TTP, it can participate also to another, even if it's not the proposal. Okay.
Yes, they can.
And another question is how much in detail we have to go in the implementation, because I didn't see a clear question in the about that in the form online. So I don't know if you just need to do,
Yeah,
we will be the workshop in this way, but not the Gantt.
yes.
You don't need the
Yeah.
Gantt. Okay.
Yeah, yes, we don't need that. And I think you can put it in just the description of the workshop, where we ask
Yeah.
for the description. I think
Okay.
you can put it in where you
Okay. So you don't
like
need the
summary. Yeah.
Gantt of organization to arrive at the workshop. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for those questions.
Thank you very much.
Toivos, Samuel. Yes.
Hi, hi everyone.
Hello.
Um, yes. Sorry, have a question, like similar question for the one that Simeona was asking. Like, in Mozambique, we applied for the previous one, and we about to have the training. I think you are aware, like
Yes.
next month, but we just because last year we had some political instability in the country. So I would like to know, as we are planning for next month, can we apply for ending of this year or next beginning of next year? So can we apply for this call now or not?
I think you can apply for this call in this round. Although the reviewers will ask for the details of the previous one for you because they know that you've received it. So we would want the details of everything that happened in between, but we also want to know how far you are with what you currently needed to do. You know what I mean? It's like something like we don't want you to start something when you haven't finished something else at the same time. So it's in those little details.
Yes, one of the things that I was even see is like because this take time until we go for the next phase of the review part, and we are planning to run it next month. I believe that until there, the program will already like done the program. So is what I was thinking that maybe it should be good to apply.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I would say try your luck.
Thank you.
I don't know what the reviewers would say. I'd say try your luck.
It's okay. Thank you.
Yes. There's another question online says, how many applications or grants do you accept per year? Per year, we fund between 20 and 20 and 22, between 20 and 22 per year. Yeah. And yes, Yoma.
Last question. Yeah.
No problem.
So about the curriculum, actually, before I did training for teacher, like Galileo teacher training program and UNAWE programs. We already had some curriculum for the teacher. And for this program, we have any curriculum or we have to build a curriculum and we have to how it is work, just I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, so the teacher training could be really for the implementation of the curriculum that you've had. So we've had cases in other countries where they say we've come together and we've built something, but now we are not sure it's going to work and we want to try it out with our teachers. We want to train our teachers on this curriculum. And it could be about that. So like I said, the OAE does not necessarily tell you what topics to focus on.
I see.
To tell us why you're focusing on the topics that you've chose. So why are you focusing on that particular curriculum? Mostly we, before we used to say we really want our trainers to be so inspired, to inspire the teachers to feel inspired to go ahead and do this. We want the teachers to feel so empowered at the end of the teacher trainings that they're able to use the experiences, what they've learned into their classrooms. And I think this is something that people have already mentioned, that realizing that astronomy does not have to be a subject on its own, but you can use the tools and skills of astronomy in your physics, in your mathematics, in your, that's what we are trying to get to.
I see. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yes, Anita?
Anita, you froze for a moment.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, my connection was unstable.
No problem.
Sorry. I also had a couple of questions. So the first one is, I'm a member of the OAE Italian office. So can I be on one of the proposals, or is this a conflict of interest? And it's better if I'm not.
No, you can be. So, for example, you can either you can submit an application with your own team. You can have another team and submit an application, but you can also be part of another team. You can be in the same team again as well with Jen and Drea. And you, Jen and Drea, can still submit individual projects as well. So we do not have restrictions on that because we want the network to grow. So that's quite important for the OAE as well. Yeah.
Great. And the second question, each application need to have an astronomer in there. Can an astronomer holding just a bachelor degree be on the application, or is there a minimum, let's say, education level that you require?
Mostly we've been trying to get people who are mostly professional astronomers, so like a little bit higher, because we want to build that relationship with, practicing and research astronomers within the teachers. So for example, this whole thing of how, small children have never seen astronomers, and we want them to get a feel that they also have access to astronomers who are at universities, who they see on TV and things like that. So I think we are also trying to build relationships at that level for them. If there is an astronomer with just a bachelor who's still so inspired and want to be interested, I don't think it is wrong to shoot them out. They can still be involved as well. So both of them are both allowed, for different reasons that we want to get more out of each of them. So, no one is really fully excluded at that angle. So yes, because we also accept amateur astronomers.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other question? Yes, Albert?
Okay, hi. I think let me put my question straight away. Number one, I was trying to find out in accepting applications, do you put this into region-based or geographical based to accept applications, or applications are being accepted based on first 22 best applications? Yes.
Oh, no, it's not even the first best 22. Okay, so
Okay.
that doesn't exist like that. It is we get applications, we split them up in different, some other people are leaving. So thank you so much for joining for the time that you could. So we get applications and we have to split them up according to the level, the school level that they are trying to focus on. So other people say we want to focus on primary schools, secondary schools, middle school. We break down our projects like that. And then we see which proposals rank top on all those proposals. So that's how we look at it.
Okay.
We see on who ranks top on those proposals, and those are the proposals that therefore get funded.
Great. So another follow-up question to that extent. Are you considering in the future where two NIEX can come together from different countries and based on particular maybe content or particular there's a particular content they want to promote across board. Maybe a very interesting project is going on in one country, other one also wish to learn whether there will be this kind of collaboration. Do you accept this, or is this something that
We've
should be in the
seen it
future?
happen between Ghana and Mauritius, Albert.
Okay.
Yes, and we have run a cross-border TTP between Kenya and Tanzania. Thank you, Anil, for reminding me of that. But yes, we've had one between Ghana and Mauritius in the last round. So yes, we do consider that. We want our NICE to also be able to collaborate with one another across borders as well. So yes, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, I don't know, has everyone seen the application form online? Okay, so if everyone has seen the application form online, that is really great. If you do have any additional questions, please send them through to the email that you have, ttp@astro.edu.org. The deadline is on the 30th of April 2025 at 11:59 p.m. UTC. So yes, that is the deadline. We will not use Hawaiian time.
Yeah. Sorry, Simi. So just a last question that pop up for the certification.
Yes.
In case we are doing a TTP with multiple organization, like not only AU, but we consider also other association organization. Do you do the certificate together, or EUs provide a certificate?
Yeah, so you will get a certificate. So as the organizer, you'll get a certificate from the OAE.
No, I'm thinking about the teacher.
teachers.
The teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the teachers, you would need to probably do your certificate and then let us know which is our part, and then we can do our part.
Okay.
But there's going to be one standard certificate that goes to all the recipients saying you have been awarded this for teacher training, and it aligns with our standards and all of that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Are there any other questions related to budget, money, evaluation? Okay, if there is nothing, thank you so much for attending. I think I have used all the time we've scheduled for this, except for the last 5 minutes, which people can take as a comfort break until their next meeting. But thank you so much for attending. If you have any more questions, please do send them through. If you've applied previously for a TTP and you see that this is different and you don't know how, please do reach out to us. If you haven't applied before, this is a great opportunity. We are looking forward to knowing the kind of impact that you're willing to make in your countries. We're willing to see what you're trying to do to get your teachers inspired. Our resources are open at the OAE for you to use, but we are also welcome the resources that you have and any other contributions that you can make to the OAE. So thank you very much.
Thank
And
you for
as a closing
information.
remark, Simis, if you allow me, for the NIC, we will have the welcome meeting on the 24th, in which we also have some session on the TTP and past experience that you can find useful to meet the previous people that award the TTP, get inspiration for them, and maybe ask also questions there, because it's still before the deadline, so you have that opportunity also.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for that. You have that opportunity. It's on the 24th.
The 24th, yeah.
On the 24th of April. Looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks, Jen Andrea, for that reminder.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.